Let's talk to the director of the Peter Tatchell Foundation, specialising in human rights, Peter Tatchell. Welcome, Peter.
Good to join you.
I think that you and I are on the same page on this one. I believe this is a problem in terms of freedom of expression, freedom of speech. Now, I don't encourage anyone to go out and burn the Koran or the Torah or the Bible. These are sacred religious tracts, and if you do that, you will offend members of that religion, and I would suggest don't go out to be offensive. But if you want to make your point in this very dramatic manner, setting fire to the Koran, as I say, it could be another religious tract, but if you want to set fire to a religious tract in this country, as long as you don't harm anyone else, to make a point, to make a protest, surely you should be allowed to. It should not be a criminal offence, and it certainly should not be a criminal offence motivated by hostility towards members of a religious group. But because of that clause, Peter, in his offence, in what he was found guilty of, it seems to me that is a return of the blasphemy laws. We don't want that, do we?
Absolutely not. I mean, I personally would not burn any book, but this is an issue of freedom of expression. In a democracy, people should have the right to express their opinions, even quite robust and offensive expressions of opinion, providing it's within the law, in particular, providing it's peaceful, and as you say, does not harm anyone else. In this case, the judge has effectively ruled to reintroduce blasphemy laws, which were abolished in England and Wales in 2008. Moreover, he suggested that Hamet's actions were an attack upon followers of religion. But in fact, he was not attacking Muslims. He was attacking the way in which Islam is being abused by the Turkish regime to crack down on human rights, and the way in which the Turkish regime is facilitating Islamist extremists who want to turn that country into a fully fledged Sharia law state with the grotesque human rights abuses that would involve. So I think what the judge has failed to make is a proper distinction between criticizing an idea, Islam, which is perfectly valid. You know, all ideas should be open to scrutiny, criticism, even ridicule, including my own. But that is what he did. He did not attack Muslim people, which would be very, very wrong. You know, we must protect Muslim people, but Islam as an idea must be open to criticism by those who criticize it. And by capitulating to the demand of Islamists in this country who want Islam to be protected under new blasphemy laws, the judge has torn up freedom of expression, and he has given a green light and a great victory to those, that minority within the Muslim community, who would like to impose Sharia law type restrictions on people's expression about Islam.
Yeah, and there's been much made of you know, the essence of his offence was his hatred of Islam and his hostility towards Islam. Well, in Britain, this is a free democracy. If I want to hate a religion, if I want to be hostile towards a religion, again, as long as if I'm not harming anyone else, I should be allowed to harbour those feelings, shouldn't I?
Absolutely. It is a fundamental human right to have freedom of expression, and that sometimes means the expression of opinions that some people may find offensive and disagreeable. But that's what part of being a democracy is. It's about allowing disagreeable, offensive views, providing they don't harm others and they're peaceful. And there was nothing, you know, unpeaceful about what Hamet did. In fact, a man attempted to stab him when he burnt the Koran, and as far as I know, that man has never been prosecuted. He came at him with a knife, and I've heard no news that that man has been ever prosecuted for what could have resulted in the murder of Hamet Guksen.
Yeah, this guy approached him holding a knife saying, "It's my religion." you don't burn the Koran. As we've discussed, Peter, if you want to burn the Koran, you should be able to. It's as simple as that. Just as you should be able to set fire to the Bible or the Jewish Tanakh, whatever religious tract you want to, if you must, if that's how you see your protest unfolding. And
one of the strange things about this, Kevin, is that if he had burned a Bible in front of Westminster Abbey, I doubt very much whether he would have been arrested.
I was going to ask you that, Peter. Suppose it was a Bible. I suspect the outcome will be different. Why do you think that is? Why is it that we're coming down like a ton of bricks on him for setting fire to the Koran, but in all likelihood we all know that if you set fire to the Bible, people will go, oh, look at that harmless eccentric. Why do you think there is that disparity?
Well, there's no doubt there are double standards, and that's wrong. The law should be equal and applied equally for everyone, regardless of who they are or what they say. I think there is an understandable concern that we don't double down on the Muslim community, who already get a lot of stick and are often unfairly scapegoated and demonized. But we have to make a clear distinction. The majority of Muslim people in this country are not Islamist extremists. You know, rightly, people want to resist Islamist extremists who, of course, not only threaten the whole society, but in particular threaten Muslim people who don't adhere to their strict interpretation of Islam. You know, the worst and most severe victims of Islamist extremism in this country are fellow Muslims who are cowed into silence, women who are pressured to wearing the hijab when they don't want to, women who are forced to stay at home by their husbands when they want to go out, because under a hardline interpretation of Islam, women shouldn't leave the house, and certainly not unescorted by a male guardian. You know, we have to say really loud and clear that this is an issue of freedom of expression, and, you know, concern for the Muslim community should not spill over into capitulation to Islamist extremists who want to censor criticisms, prevent criticisms of their faith.
Exactly right. And as you quite rightly point out, the vast majority of Muslims in this country, 4 million of them, would take our view about this. They would agree with us that in a free democracy you should be able to burn religious tracts if you so choose. As you say, also there's a small number of noisy extremists who kind of want Sharia law here, and they're the ones banging the drum about this. They're the ones saying that this kind of prosecution should always happen to anyone who's disrespectful towards Islam, and that is the whole point. You know, I don't want to be disrespectful towards Islam or any man or woman's religion, but if I want to be, I should be able to be. And these extremists within the Muslim community, they should be slapped down. They should be told, no, this is Britain, you can't do this.
There's some very bizarre thinking here. The Islamist extremists, their slogan is, God is great. Well, if God is great, he doesn't need the protection of earthly laws. God is great, he will survive. For God, he won't care about criticisms because he is great.
I'll tell you what, I think you're right, Peter.
Double thinking going on there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going to go to church on Sunday and ask him exactly where he stands on this, God.